Hi. I wasn't sure if we were recording. I forgot where to look for the button. Hello, welcome to an astrological, hmm, I wouldn't call it a forecast. It's all about the cosmic weather, but at the same time, I want to really focus this talk on the lunar cycle and the annual cycle of the sun around the ecliptic and where it brings us to today. And to highlight that tomorrow we are going to experience what is called and the equinox, the autumnal equinox, and it ushers in one of my favorite seasons, the fall, and all that the season represents, right? The season is really a larger, more reflective backdrop of what the energies that are available and how we can work with them. And because it is the vibration, the vibratory essence with which we can create. So we had a full moon, how exciting. And the wave hit is utmost ascension on the 17th. And after that cresting, it has been crashing forth ever since. And it may have washed in some events into your life. And I went over some of what that means for this stage in the cycle of growth that is represented by the zodiac itself, right? So we are now at the fall, meaning that the day and night are found at an equal point on the equinox. However, from that point on, the illumination of the sun, the angle of relationship between the sun and the earth and the moon begins to the light begins to fall away. And so we can see that in nature because the trees begin to lose their leaves. And likewise, we can begin to, just as the trees let go of its attachment to the leaves, we can begin to let go of those things that have served their purpose, and it's now time for renewal. And so we're all going to be called to in an area of our life that Virgo represents to become more spiritually connected, because Virgo is the sign of the Virgin, right? It's the sign of purity, it's the sign of the purity of the physical structure and of all our bodies, you know, beginning with the crown through to the root and to the soles of our feet, which are represented more poignantly by the sign of Pisces, which is on the axis between Virgo and its opposite sign, which is the Pisces and the Piscean directive of giving birth to Christic consciousness, where we become self-aware of um, our own investment in the ego and begin to pull away from that to become more centered within our own spiritual intelligence. You know, there is such a thing as, you know, the intelligence quotient, which measures your IQ. There's a very popular term that has taken additional life during this time, and that is emotional intelligence, which is based on social emotional um mm, understanding. And you know, a higher expression of that would be our spiritual intelligence and how we tap into our connection with source through our resonance with the environment and and with source itself, right? That which gives us life. And so on the 22nd, we are going to have we're going to have the equinox, and on just a couple of, which is that middle point which I just described, and it 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 actually is part of that 365-day cycle that is represented by the entire year, and the trajectory of the sun every day moving 1 degree as it makes its round across the zodiacal wheel, and imbibing its energy with the backdrop of stars that form the zodiac, right? That all the signs. And so at this time, the sun is in the sign of Libra, and in the sign of Virgo, and it's about to go into the sign of Libra. And Libra represents the scales of balance. At one time, it is suspected, given earlier zodiacal wheels and the representation of what that is, right? It was thought that Virgo and Libra were all one sign. And so at some point that got divided, and I'm not going to get into that here at this time. But the sun will move into Virgo, and it marks the equinoctial point of the zodiac. And that brings closure to a cycle of growth that is experienced on an annual basis at the beginning of spring. And actually, after the trajectory of the sun in Capricorn, already in February, we have the bird mating season, and the pagan calendar also points to a time, the first quarter of the growth of of energy into the earth in the northern hemisphere. And so we find now we are beginning it's the harvest of that entire cycle of growth that literally began as the sun comes to a solstice and begins its ascension along the ecliptic at the 25th of December, when the winter solstice, when we understand that the sun begins its rise again. And that is highlighted by many religions, but specifically during our time by Christian religion, where we say that that's the birth of the sun and the birth of the solar essence in life. Hi, this is your channel. I am Soma, and Nectar of the Gods, so delicious. And so my name is Sophia, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about the lunar cycle and where we find ourselves right now. And so after that cresting of the full moon, the moon begins to shed her petals, right? She begins to lose, or more shadow begins to appear on the disk of the moon, of the mirror that is the moon, the mirror of our emotions, which for the most part are running your life. Your emotions, my emotions, and run my life. And sometimes if I become involved with other people, their energy field can have an impact on my emotional health sometimes. But for the most part, not so much anymore. But anyway, so now we have entered the disseminating phase, and the disseminating phase is a time when your own personal knowledge is secondary, and your own personal knowledge and experience is secondary to anyone else's. At this time, we are harnessing our own inner directive to move forward. This is a time when we become aware of what was hidden as the moon began to grow in light and has now been revealed at the fullness of time at the full moon. And in the days that follow, it's called disseminating because it is actually, as it loses its petals, it begins to influence our subconscious. We become aware again. You know, as the subconscious begins to hide, you have just had a peek of what is it that needs to change. And we only receive that which we deserve. And the word deserve is very interesting. My teacher, Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, would say that first deserve, then desire. But he did not qualify that with how you deserve. And our own ideas about what we're worthy of, self-worth, is the key to that. If you feel unworthy of something, then you're not receptive to it, right? Like many people, you know, do all these affirmations for wealth and like that, but at their core, in their most inner, the most inner expression of who they are, there's a block that needs to be removed before they can feel worthy of the abundance that and prosperity that is always available. It's always there. It's all the creative life force of energy that creates you and me and this experience that we call life is always present, and it is abundant and it is prosperous and it's all those things. But you first have to feel worthy, and that's why being in integrity and behaving from a place or where you know what you know, and that's exactly what the disseminating moon is bringing to us, is an opportunity for us to be in that place of we know what we know. And if you feel, as I've said in other videos, if you feel any negativity, if you feel anything, you know, if it's not a full yes, then it's a no. And so so that you can be in your integrity and sovereign. That way, you're not setting up challenges to the accomplishment of your own goals by feeling unworthy. That unworthiness can only come from within. No one can make you feel anything without your permission. So that's really important. And only a fool does not learn from their own mistakes. So if you're continuing to fall into a hole in the ground, you know, the first time you fall, it was an accident. I get it. I've fallen many times. And sometimes, you know, I trip and I almost fall and I catch myself right before I do. And sometimes, wow, I dip my entire foot in the hole in the ground. That is almost like quicksand, and you have to like regain your wits about you. And eventually you get it. And if you keep repeating the same storyline keeps repeating in your life, then it means that you're not living in integrity and that you're not honoring yourself to the extent that you are recognizing what's happening, and you're just not going there again. So this is the time where the essential value of the entire lunar cycle becomes revealed in this way, because the reason for experience in this life is to bring you out of those repetitive patterns so that you can realize why you're here and you can go for it. Who's ready to fly, right? So that's really it right now. Like, are you ready to fly? Are you ready to like take off? Because the opportunity to take off is here in a mega pronounced essence of being. And as I said previously, November 4th, we're having Pluto move forward in Capricorn, and you either claimed your power or you gave it away. And if you gave it away and you didn't reclaim your sovereignty from the influences that keep you stuck in behaviors that are less than what you want for your life, then you're going to repeat that. And that goes for everyone all around the zodiac, because we all have Capricorn somewhere in our chart. So you should look at the house placement where Capricorn is in your chart. And if you don't know, I'd be more than happy to share that information with you. Just leave me a message, DM, send me a message, leave a message in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to send you that information. And I'll even give you a mini reading so that you understand what it means for you. Because it's important to look at the chart. And anyway, I'm not going to get into anymore. So right now, what's more frightening to you? Is it accepting the abundance and the prosperity and all the gifts that the universe has to give you? Are you still making up stories that are keeping you from fulfilling your desires? Has this lunar cycle presented opportunities for you to move forward, but you're still playing that victim script in your mind where you're like, no, but this always happens, and that happened to me last year, and telling those stories. I mean, like, it's time to put the stories away. Otherwise, you're going to continue to repeat them. And that's also another saying, which is that what you put your attention on grows in your life. So if you're continuing to tell the stories about what didn't work and who did what to whom and how you felt, and if that's where you are, fantastic, honor that. But know that that is an expression that requires healing. And once you heal it, then when the opportunity comes up, you're not looking at the shadows of the past and basing the decisions that you make today on how you felt in 2010 or 2015 or 2016, or wasn't 2020 this and that. If that's still the conversation that you're having, there's a lot of healing that needs to happen. And this is a fantastic time to undertake that, because we are going into the cavernous, most darkest recesses of our own subconscious as the sun continues its descent towards the solstice. This is the last quarter of the year, which represents, as does the last quarter of the moon, a crisis in consciousness. I mean, the crisis in consciousness at the first quarter, which will be Easter. Right now, we're going into the crisis. Yeah, it is the crisis in consciousness, actually. So yeah, we're that's where we are right now. So it's the crisis in consciousness. Now is the time for you to really own what's important to you. Where's your full swagger, right? Male or female, where's your full swagger? Like when you stand in front of the mirror, what do you love about yourself? This is a time to nourish your inner being. It's time to nourish your soul essence, that which gives you that bon vivant, that essence, that where you want to conquer the world, but you can only conquer it by conquering yourself. And so the seed begins to crack, open, fully open. And boy, does this time of the year have a couple of surprises for us. At the time of the equinox, the ascendant sign on the chart happens to be Libra. Libra, so many good things coming to you. Libra, relationships, contracts, the contracts that we have with ourselves, the contracts that we have with our higher spirit, the contracts and commitments that we have made, with our soul. What is really important to you. And Libra is about partnerships, associations, and those commitments that we have with others that are contractually based. Sometimes they could involve soul contracts, and the soul contract that we have with those people that we love. And so at the exact moment of the equinox, we have Lilith on the ascendant. Lilith, let's talk about Lilith. Lilith is of wisdom, as much as that feminine goddess life force is about self-destruction. It's about those things that we keep hiding from ourselves because we can't accept them, because we feel some shame in our game, right? We feel shame. We feel that it's about hidden taboos, those things that you do in secret. It's about the clandestine. It's about giving yourself permission to do all the things that are not in alignment with who you are. And they cause shame. So the healing capacity at this moment is to accept that about yourself and make a choice about how you're going to express that, because everything, everything has a light and dark, and then there's the middle. Then there's the middle path. And in the middle path, we don't judge as good or bad. And we live within the integrity of those things that we have adopted for ourselves as the right or the wrong thing within our own judgment. And Libra is of judgment. It is the sign of judgment. It is the balance. It's the scales. It's about justice. And so we are hard on others as we are on ourselves sometimes. And so where does empathy and compassion, how can you exercise those qualities so that you're not beating yourself up and feeling like you deserve less than being a co-creative spirit with the divine essence of all that is? You have to claim that. Nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to tell you how wonderful you are. Maybe people may, I don't know what their motivation might be, but you have to claim that for yourself. You have to own that in your own heart space, and then take action from there. And so we have Lilith, and Lilith is about really embracing our true desires. Like, you want to shine, you really want to shine. What do you have to let go of so that you can claim your spotlight? And what can you do about these shadows? Whatever has happened has happened. Don't beat yourself up about things that have happened in the past. You can only start from where you are, and you are ready. You really are ready. You're ready to take on this world, and you have to begin where you are right now. But that's a decision that you have to make, and that comes from being, from profound self-honesty and self-forgiveness. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't go around saying you love other people and that you forgive them and this and that if you can't forgive yourself for the mistakes that you have, for the apparent mistakes. Actually, everything that happens is an experience, and that's what we're here. This is the university, right? So we're here to learn. And so we learn, and when we see the hole on the ground, we don't fall into it again. We walk around it. We cross the street. We take a different road. We don't allow that to continue. There's a fly in my space. It's just amazing. I'll talk to it in a little while, and I'll let it out, and she'll fly right out. And so Lilith is very present right now. She is showing up in your space, in your own inner space. There's going to be some obsession, some taboo, something that you're going to become aware of in an area of life where Libra is in your chart. Okay. So, and Libra is about relationships, it's about judgment, justice, all the things that I mentioned before. So you have to let go of the guilt, heal, cry if you have to, and come to terms with what you find acceptable and what you find unacceptable, and then live in integrity between those two, because we all have our own internal assessment genie, right? So we have to assess for ourselves. What's right for me is not right for you. This is why giving advice is such a waste of time. What's right for me is based on my experience and me living in sovereignty, giving what I consider, what's good or bad or right or wrong. And my own relationship with the divine creative life force. So you have to make a decision about what that means to you. This 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 chart is actually there's a trine between the earth signs, which gives us great capacity for all the things that the earth represent: nourishment, shelter. What else is of the earth? Creativity. How creative is Mother Earth? Look at all of us, right? The diversity of creation. So how can you diversify in your own life where you can bring in a more artistic expression of who you are and what you want to leave as part of your legacy, right? And we should all be working on our legacy. It doesn't matter how old you are. Your footprint, your carbon footprint, or your digital footprint, or all these are part of our legacy. Our anyway. You get my point. The footprint that we have left based on the relationship that we have with ourselves, right? So our spiritual inner life. The trine, the earth trine, it's Uranus, Pluto, and the sun. The sun, Virgo, that Virgo, this is the sidereal, is it? This is the sidereal. Let me change to the Western zodiac. I'm going to talk about the sidereal in a minute. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, here we go, traditional. Oh, wait, I did something wrong. Just give me a minute here. Okay, let's see the chart again. Okay, so yes, it is Placidus system. And so, yeah, so that trine is active, and the trine is an easy relationship between these different bodies. We're talking about the most transpersonal, the planet in our solar system that is the furthest away, and that is Pluto. And whenever the planet that's furthest away is actually the slowest planet, and the slowest planet always has more power over the rest of the chart in any alignment. And so here we have an alignment, a trine relationship between the sun, the life-giving force, the will, where you're placing your attention, that energy of your solar plexus. Uranus, the innovative, avant-garde, wants to do it different, doesn't mind the margin, doesn't mind going into the margins for the sake of, the revolution, the rebelliousness of energy that gives rise to innovation and genius. You really have to want to break open into a new realm of understanding to be able to leave the blueprint and create something completely new. And that's the power of Uranus that is being activated by the plutonic force of transformation and obsession, compulsion. It is of self-worth. It is of abundance and prosperity. Pluto means wealth. So how can you bring the wealth of your innermost gut-wrenching power to bear on a new creation in your life? That's available to us right now. And we have that energy working with the sun, which is the power of our will. So to really embody that and just come out and like, you know, this is what I want. And be really super honest with yourself. With Lilith there at the ascendant in Libra, you're going to have to break free. You're going to have to break free from your own obsessions. You're going to have to. Pluto is the most potent force in that trine. It is of the earth, which means it's of us because we are the earth. And if you want to break open from all of that, it's about going within and no, it stops here. This is it. And it's in Capricorn. Capricorn is the mountain climbing goat. And the goat climbs alone. And guess what? Pluto is the loner. It's the furthest away planet in our zodiac. It is known as a shadow, our inner shadow, our subconscious shadow, because it's those things that we reject also. And remember that on the ascendant, we have Lilith close by. And Lilith is about the divine feminine principle that we are just like ashamed of. And, you know, it's the way that the hypersexualization of the divine feminine, reclaiming the purity of that space is really what this is about. I just got that. So, you know, in your divine essence, in your beautiful Libra, balanced, charming, magnetic self, how are you bringing that forward with the power and the inner resolve that the loner Pluto lends you at this time to break free through the power of Uranus to innovate and show up in the space like what? I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, so what else is going on here? Wow, there's so much. Mercury is in Virgo. Fantastic, because that is its favorite place. Mercury is it's exalted. It's in its house that it's Lord. It's super comfortable. In the Eastern system, Mercury is not only what they call exalted, but it's also multricone in the place where it is inhabiting right now. And actually, it was smacking that location just at the last recording at the full moon, which means that it was multricone, which means it's in its office. So not only are you home, but you're in your home office. So you're like taking care of your business and like it's nobody's business. And that's exactly what this entire seasonal shift that we're now going through with the equinox right now, pulling you to do. This is it. This is you. This is all about you. We have Mars in Cancer, that spiritual warrior, all about reclaiming your foundation. It's in the house of the mother. All the things that represent the nurturing of the mother, your mother herself, how you mother yourself, right? There is, you know, there's so many ways to express this energy that Mars represents. And there's an alignment between Mars and Saturn, and Mars is actually exalted. It's in its best functioning when it's in Capricorn, and it's making a beautiful alignment to Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn, which is where Pluto is placed right now, giving you an opportunity to break the mold. Not break the mold for the sake of breaking it, but because of what you're creating to, which is of growth, which is of building solidly something that will carry forward. It's about the legacy. It's beyond time, right? Because Saturn rules time. And Saturn is in Pisces, and Pisces is the collective unconscious, right? And so how to create in the collective unconscious, and it's water. How to create in water. And as I said last time we spoke, you have to create a container. And where do you create that container? Pisces, what is Pisces? Pisces is about the spirit. So it's about creating the spiritual container for the structure that is going to hold up your life moving forward. We're moving away from the Piscean age, right? So having captured the essence of Pisces right now and diving into your creative spirit. You know, you see that? That's my drawing. And it's also a vision board, and it's a lot of things. It's about art, it's about creativity. Like, how can you bring out, if you doodle, if you write poetry, write poetry. If you like to strum the guitar, strum the guitar. If you want to clap your hands, if you want to whistle, take walks in nature. I can't stress it enough how powerful that is right now. Remember, Saturn rules an earth sign. So time with the earth is purifying, because Pisces is about the purity of the creative life force within, which is the Christ consciousness, becoming aware of that intelligence that forms the backdrop to all our thoughts and all our egoic obsessions, and to let that go in silence. And we can transcend the noise of everyday collective unconscious when we tap into that silent level of awareness through art. So creativity is super important right now. We have still Jupiter in Gemini. How is he feeling? Very well, actually. Yeah, receiving some direct vibes from the constellation of Sirius. And so the Syrian directive is lively within the wisdom that we can retrieve from the force of the teacher, the guru, right, which Jupiter represents. So listening to your own inner wisdom, and yeah, the Gemini is a quick-witted, wants to get, Gemini gets it, right? In 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 an air sign, in Earth, it's able to ground that force. When Mercury is in Gemini, it's dual, it's changeable, it moves around too much, right? So in that way, it is unlike Jupiter. Jupiter is now placed in Gemini. It is unlike Jupiter because Jupiter is of wisdom. It's of Jupiter is about the long trip, right? It's about the adventure in the long run. So it gives us an opportunity, if we calm the mind, to retrieve incredible wisdom. I'm going to leave it at that. Calm the mind, no overstimulation. Because remember, Jupiter's going to expand whatever it touches. And if it's in Gemini, it's going to create a windstorm. And you can be everywhere and be nowhere. Or you can harness that and direct it. And that's the power that we have as human beings. Okay. Venus is in Virgo. Venus is actually, in Libra. Venus is actually, it's rising at the time of the equinox, right? At the time when the equinox happens, Venus is approaching the ascendant. So, the ascendant point. So Venus is still hidden, but it's quite charming. Charm is actually a signification for the Venusian principle. It's actually a good thing because Venus is now an evening star. So she's not rising ahead anyway. Venus is in your heart. Venus is in your inner self, and can help you to magnetize and attract that which you desire. Having come to terms with Lilith, who has been shamed and made to feel guilty about perhaps some of the most human and divine emotions that we can have. So coming to terms with that and putting that into perspective is going to be super important. The nodes are highlighted. The node is rising right above Lilith, and so the south node. So there's a lot of karmic baggage. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, and it's not a bad thing, actually. It gives us an opportunity to clear it and break and really just be done with those contracts that no longer serve, because the top of the leadership totem pole where you are going at this time in your life, if you harness the reins of your mind, will require for you to leave some things behind. Having said that, well, I think I'm going to end it there. There is the last quarter moon coming up on the 24th of this month. I'll be back with another message by then, but I'm going to leave you at the equinox tomorrow, equal day and night. Spend time with Mother Earth, listen to her, watch for her messages, however those messages are coming through for you. Some people see animals, some people it's plants, some people it's insects, some people it's numbers, for some people it's colors, for some people it's other people. So, like recently, I had family members all show up at once, like either a phone call or a text or an email. And it took me by surprise because it was literally like all in the same day. And so how does what energy in the time space continuum of this third dimensional realm opens up that allows for that energy to come through? Because remember, the outer is always a reflection of the inner. So there was something present in my chart, in my being, in the archetypes, and the way that these archetypal energies, which I've just described, are showing up for me, brought family. And so how is that showing up in your life? Remember that we have Mars at the top of the chart at the time of this equinox, and Mars represents the motherland. I mean, it's in Cancer, and Cancer represents the motherland. At the very bottom of the chart, at the time of the equinox, we have Capricorn. And so the mountain climbing goat, the greatest of all time, is present in our awareness for us to create a foundation that will allow us to climb the mountain to the mountaintop. So I think that I'm going to leave it here. I have mentioned, yeah, I think I am going to leave it here. The moon at the time, the moon at the time of the equinox is entering the sign of Gemini. Yeah, there's going to be don't go into the duality of black and white. Go slowly, because remember, Jupiter's there, and Jupiter creates that tornado of, it's an air sign, and Jupiter's fire. So the moon being there, our emotional body, although they're, it's like 20 degrees apart, so it's not even, it's a 20-degree, or it's quite it's far, but the emotions are going to get stoked a bit because it's in Gemini, and we can get into that black and white thinking, and that black and white thinking leads nowhere real soon. Go slowly enough so that you drop into the body, like it's a pendulum swinging, and it's swinging within you. It's not outside here, over there, swinging anywhere. Walking within that pendulum continues its swing within you, that swagger that I mentioned earlier. And so that your emotional body does not become so stirred that you don't know where you're going. Because this is not a time not to know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going by this time, at the closing of the season of summer, of the cycle of growth, this is the harvest. This is time to separate the wheat from the chaff. And if you're busy minding other people's business, you're not taking care of number one, and you can't take care of number one while you're out getting blown away like a leaf blowing in the wind as they fall from the trees during the season that we're ushering in right now. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that. So much love. Take good care of yourself and each other. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you like for me to look at your chart and give you, I'll do a 30-minute reading with you. Not a problem. So just leave me a message. And actually I don't want to get bombarded. I don't know how many people listen to this, but if you're interested and you really care, I really care to share with you. Okay? All right. So I'm gonna let you go now. All love, and I'll see you soon. In just another 2 days, we hit that mark where the moon goes half illuminated, half shadow, and we are on our way to the next stage, and it's time to clear the backdrop of information that has come through, but not yet. You have 2 more days. 3. Bye. All love.